All the influencers like Rick Ross, he DM'd us too. A lot of them just reached out, and then a couple of them were like strategic. Yeah. Todd Gurley was the first one to message us, and he was right off the first drop. One of the biggest challenges is just staying true to the drop model that we have. It's easier now because it's gotten bigger, but when we were doing like kind of stagnant growing, like drops 3 and 4, like we wanted to be like, let's do a 6-figure drop, like, let's do it, and be like, no, wait for the snowball to kick in. And really around 6 is when the snowball kicked in. That's when the whole drop sold out in 4 minutes. We're not selling a t-shirt. Selling this brand identity, this brand image of like what Carte Blanche is.
Welcome back to another episode of the Bad Marketing Podcast. If it's your first time here, this is where we bring some of the biggest experts in the world in the online marketing space, whether it's e-com brands, info products, or agencies, and bring them all in one place where we can figure out exactly what they're doing, find out how they got there, and leave you with some game so that you can improve your own business. On today's episode, I got Mr. Leidenfrost. If you haven't heard of this guy, you've definitely heard of his brand, Carte Blanche. Carte Blanche is one of the biggest streetwear fashion brands blowing up. You're seeing it all over the place on celebrities' heads, on their bodies. And this guy has actually revolutionized the game in streetwear and also created his own drop model with limited merch to be able to scale this thing up. And this is the first time we get a peek under the hood. He's never talked about all the stuff that we're talking about today. And so if you're interested in launching an apparel brand, if you're just in the e-commerce space in general, or you just want to see how a scrappy entrepreneur put together a brand new product with a brand new line and built it into something that is absolutely incredible that sells out in seconds when it drops, this is the place for you. Super excited for you to listen up in this episode. And if you enjoyed it, please share it with your friends. Please subscribe because we'll be dropping much more content just like this. Enjoy. Welcome back to the Bad Marketing Podcast. Today I have a very special guest, the founder of Carte Blanche, Leidenfrost. Damn it, man. Damn it.
So
we
close.
just talked about it. Leidenfrost. I won't mess it up again for the rest of the podcast.
There we
It's
go.
a hard one, bro.
It
It's
is because it doesn't make sense. In English, it's like I before E after C, and then mine just doesn't follow that at all. It's EI.
It's funny because I asked him like 3 times before we started, and I still fucked up.
Hey, it's all good. Everyone,
No
no
you
one
say
gets
it one
right.
last time?
Leidenfrost.
Leidenfrost. There it is, baby. Thank you so much for coming on board. I appreciate you being on the podcast. I know we've been trying to get this going for a while.
Oh yeah, a really long time.
A really
I'm glad
long
to be
time.
here. It's awesome.
I'm very excited, and I'm actually glad that it took us some time because I've watched you now build up this new brand from scratch. The way you've done it is super cool. Everyone on the outside is super interested in how it happened, so we're gonna get really into that towards the second half of this podcast. The first half, though, I want to focus on like how you got here because I think a lot of people might look at this and be like, this is kind of like an overnight success. Like he has all these famous people wearing his clothes, all this stuff. Like he's doing these launches, they're selling out every time. But I don't think people realize like how far back you go in the online world. So take me back to like that first thing that you did online. Like what was the thing that like got you into the internet money world? Let's call it.
I think that's like, it's the most cliche thing they always talk about is the overnight success kind of look, has like 10 years behind the scenes. And it's pretty true in my case because I started off doing Instagram pages when I was actually homeschooled in 8th grade. My mom homeschooled me, and she wasn't a great teacher, I guess, because she's not a teacher. So I pretty much just did what I want that year. And I built these Instagram pages up, like themed pages, like comebacks, pickup lines, like all these different pages, and actually built a multi-million follower network before there was even Instagram ads or anything, and the feed was chronological. So I did that, and I was like, how can I monetize this? Because at the time, you could get a shout out to 1 million followers for $5. It was unbelievably
Get out of here.
Unexpensive. Yeah, it was so easy to just, but no one was running ads.
Yeah.
There was a couple apps, like the first text-free app kind of was promoted on there and stuff like that, but no one was doing it. But I was only 13 or 14 years old, and I was like, well, I don't know how to code, but maybe I can find somewhere to buy an app. And I found like an online marketplace to buy an app, and I bought an app and made a like it was not even Photoshop. I just kind of took a screenshot with a yellow or a pink background and said best app of 2014, put it on all my pages. And since it was chronological, millions of people saw it. And then it was for my birthday. I didn't even have $500, but that's what the app cost. And so I asked my parents for $500 to buy the app. And we were actually at Outback Steakhouse, and I got a text message that was like, do you know how much money, because you don't see it live, the downloads, but he's like, you could see the ranking, but I wasn't even checking because I just thought I was going to get like 10 downloads.
Yeah.
And one guy was like, do you know how much money that probably is making? And I said, why? He said, it's #1 in games, which was like the first chart it hit. On my birthday, I'm at Outback freaking out thinking I made $1 million. And then the next day it was like number 10 overall, and then throughout like a week or two, it climbed to the number 1 app on the App Store. It beat Minecraft out, and there was like
Minecraft.
Yeah, I actually got above Minecraft on paid game or paid apps
insane.
for a few hours, and I was like, wow, this is crazy. And then kind of just transitioned through there. And
so what happened there? Did you keep that money, or what happened exactly?
No, so I was I think it was my 14th birthday. It would have been, or maybe my 14th birthday, and it was under my name. And since no one knew how to explain the ads, because you couldn't find ads anywhere and no one knew to look on Instagram, people actually were posting things online like App Store scammer hacks Apple and makes app number 1, because it wasn't a great game.
Yeah.
But it was right after Flappy Bird, so like there's just a touch jump game.
Yeah.
And so I started freaking out because I was a freshman in high school, and I was freaking out, and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna get sued, all this stuff. And it was like making $10,000-ish a day. And I was like, I don't even think they can pay me, because I looked it up. You have to be 18 to have an app. So I just gave it back to the developer for $1,000.
No way, bro.
I still got the money, but Apple wasn't going to pay me because I wasn't old enough. So my mom had to make an LLC, Frosty Developments LLC, and then make me the president of the company so that Apple could actually pay us, because they wouldn't even pay me. But I just gave it back, and the app stayed in the top charts for like a month or two afterwards.
No way.
So I missed out on a huge amount, but I had
hundreds of thousands, it sounds like.
At least, yeah. But I still made a good bit of money I had enough money to go buy myself my own Jeep, and I couldn't even drive yet. So
that's
like
cool.
I had some money, and
for that age, that's a lot of money.
And it got me like excited about the entrepreneurial journey. I was like, okay, I know how to do this now, and I turned it into 20 different apps afterwards, and none were nearly as successful. There was a couple free ones that got a few million downloads, but I kind of just transitioned into apps, and that slowly faded into Shopify dropshipping started becoming hot around like 2016, 2017. And that's kind of when I got into that avenue.
Okay. And you started doing it, what, jewelry?
Yeah, I started off I tried a bunch of stuff that didn't work, of course. Like I ordered chargers from China and was trying to just sell them out of my house and didn't sell any. And then I got into custom jewelry, like name necklaces. And that started to really hit with the same theme page marketing, because I still don't know about Facebook ads yet, because it was late 2016, early 2017. So I was just doing theme page marketing, and I had my first 6-figure month November of 2017, and I was like, okay, this is cool. So I really doubled down on that, but it started off with custom jewelry, and I did that for about a year and a half.
Custom jewelry, drop shipping.
Well, it started off drop shipping, and then we had like 1,000 customers that didn't get their jewelry on time. So I was like, this isn't working. So that was my first time building out like a supplier that would ship it to me where I could ship it out, and that kind of got my hands into shipping, which is kind of where I'm now. But that started there, and we rented a WeWork office, and we were shipping thousands of packages out of a WeWork office with just like glass walls.
That's
so
crazy.
Everyone's around us is like 30 years old and older, and then me and Adam are 18 and 23, I think. Like we're really young guys, like looked like babies in there, just shipping all these orders. Everyone's like, "What are these guys doing?" But we were shipping jewelry out of a WeWork office.
That's awesome. And so that went to custom jewelry. Tell me logistically, like how did that work? Because
we found a supplier in the Dominican Republic through Etsy, actually, which is like if you're trying to find a supplier locally, Etsy's a good place to find that. You can just see the ones that aren't in China. And we found this one in the Dominican Republic, and they were actually able to overnight us our orders. They would just download them through Shopify and overnight them, and then we'd get them 10 a.m. the next day. So we were able to actually ship out custom jewelry in like a 3 to 5 day window, which was unheard of, because out of China at that time, it was taking like 2-3 weeks before it even ship. And so we were doing custom jewelry pretty fast. And for a time, I think we were like up there with some of the fastest custom jewelry, because no one was even making it in the US. But we found this supplier that were doing a bunch of diamonds and jewelry for New York, and their storefronts were in New York, but they had their production facility in the Dominican Republic, and we kind of just sneaked in and had it going, and it worked out good, because like the guy was an old business guy, had been doing jewelry in New York forever, but his son was coming into it and like knew online was cool, so he was like willing to give us a shot. So we were working through the son, who was probably like 28 at the time, and he allowed us that opportunity, and it worked out well.
Sick. So what happened there though? Because that sounds like a really good product. That sounds like, I mean, I have friends who do $10 million a year from custom jewelry.
Yeah.
So what happened?
It was really early into it, and they were kind of hot. Like the name necklaces, what they were called, they were really hot, and the big letter necklaces, and we were selling a lot of them, but I didn't know, like, I just knew how to do sales, but I didn't open up a single spreadsheet. So like I was like, look, we did $1,000 or $5,000 or something a day, but there was no tracking. Like I wasn't tracking my expenses, my shipping costs. I was just looking at the overall number, because I was young and hadn't really got into it. And I remember sitting down with my friend Zach, and he was like, just showed me a simple spreadsheet of like daily sales, daily cost of goods sold, profit. And I remember it was like red.
No.
And so I slowly was building up debt over time. And I was able to get out of it where it didn't really take me down or anything. I was able to work out a negotiation with the suppliers because I owed them some money and kind of got out scot-free. But the biggest thing I took from that was the experience that I learned of. That's how I got into Facebook ads through that process. I learned about sourcing products. I learned about shipping. I really got like the whole DTC like bug started in me.
And then what happened from there with that bug?
After that, Adam came down for that and then moved home because it kind of failed, and he moved back to Arkansas. So he went and started his own advertising agency for Facebook ads and Google ads and email. And I went and started my own. And he was much better at the media buying and stuff like that. So I just had I was just white labeling his services. So I was landing clients from my network and just having him do the work. And then he had his own clients and he was doing the work. And Adam's my business partner to this day. We've worked together on every business venture, except for this little period of time. We both had our own agencies, and we realized that we were doing our own agencies, but together. And we're like, hey, dude, how about we just partner back up and make a company together? And so we started Inverse, and Adam moved back to Atlanta right before COVID, so like January or February 2020. And then we built Inverse and combined all our clients together and did that for a while, and that was really fun.
And so how big did Inverse get?
Inverse is still our parent company to this day. It's kind of changed roles. But at the time, Inverse was like around 10,000 profit a month, which at the time was decent for a marketing agency.
Solid, dude.
Yeah, it was like early 2020, but it taught us, we like got to look into these really big companies. So we had some bigger clients that were doing, at the time it was big to us, like a couple million a year.
Yeah.
And so we started to learn how they were operating and how we were able to come in and increase their revenue. And we were like learning Facebook ads and hiring a team. And it was our first time like having a couple people work with us. But yeah, it didn't get massive, but enough experience to where we could go set up a Facebook ad account and run ads profitably. And that took us into Print Your Songs right in the midst of COVID, where it just exploded.
Okay. Tell me more about Print Your Songs, because that got huge, right?
Yeah, that got really big, really fast. It launched in the middle of 2020. I would say like July. And also at the same time, I was launching a company that was doing good too. That was called Paint Your Numbers. And between the two of them, they were doing like $20,000 or $30,000 a day each.
A day each.
Yeah, and it was hot. Like I remember.
So you're talking almost $2 million a month in rev, dude?
But we didn't get there.
Okay.
Because there's a bunch of problems with like fake DMCAs and all this crazy stuff. And we didn't know any better, but we did it for about 30 days or something. And I remember we had our first $10,000 day before we even knew how to produce it. But I remember just going to, I went to Adam's room at like 2 a.m. one night because we were roommates as well while we were running this business. And I was like, Adam, I just saw this TikTok of this person that painted with nail polish a Print Your Song plaque and gave it to their boyfriend. We could figure out how to make this. So we made the whole renders and everything and started selling it. And we had our first $10,000 day, and we're like, oh, how do we make these? We were thinking like we just could print it off a computer.
Yeah.
But we started just calling everyone in the metro area, Atlanta, and then we found a supplier, and then we were able to get them printed, and then we started fulfilling, and it went well, and we did it for, I guess, 30-ish days, and then got shut down. But during those 30 days, it was scaling like crazy. And
that's crazy.
And then Paint Your Numbers went on for a while.
And you've never seen money like that before.
No, that was like that was crazy.
Yeah.
Besides like the small bit of the app when I was younger, but it still was way bigger. It was nuts. And that's when we got into a warehouse and we started learning how to ship. And then it kind of just went silent for a couple months. And then we figured out that we didn't do anything wrong. We could bring the company back. And we started another one, Print Your Places, at the same time. And that now this is like middle 2021. And we really started building a good business and building out our first warehouse.
So what was the biggest month that those companies did?
Dude, I don't know. I think last Valentine's Day was the biggest, and we did somewhere around 28,000 orders in a 30-day period, which is
28,000 orders.
Yeah, I've got a picture of because we were also fulfilling all of them. I have a picture of, they're called Gaylords, which are these huge cardboard boxes that can hold like 1,000-ish orders. And there was a day where we had 6 or 7 of them fully packed to the brim.
That's crazy.
And you just walk down, it's like a whole warehouse line, so it's whatever, like 100, like half a football field just filled with our packages. It's over 6,000 packages going out on one day for Valentine's Day, and we're like, this is actually pretty big. and it was just a couple buddies that I had called that had been working with me on the fulfillment side, and I hired everyone in the beginning through Snapchat and Instagram, just stories like, hey, anyone want to come work for me? I'll give you $20 an hour. And like people would come work, and they're all my friends.
You still kind of do that though, right?
Now, not
like in busy season, you're like, hey, I got spots.
Last busy season, I did do that, but now I've started to work with but post ads on Indeed and like hire through friends that are working there, and it's growing and it's a lot bigger now. But in the beginning, that's how I got everyone. It was like just through friends. I like knew every person that worked for us. I knew personally for the first year and a half.
So what ended up happening with that business exactly? Is that something you still run?
No, we got acquired partially last year and then fully just recently, like a week or two ago. So we're out of that, but in the process, it got us into our new warehouse, which is we kind of took over a failing business that was a UV printing company, and they were printing like dog collars and belts. So we were already looking for more space, and we found this through a friend, this business that was going out of business where they just needed to get out so the bleeding would stop, and we were kind of able to take over that business. I don't know if you'd call it an acquisition as much as you would call it like just paying a little bit of, like paying some money to get in and take over a failing business and risking blowing up, but we took it over and we actually turned it profitable and put our 3PL in there, which really helped. And then we started producing the plaque stuff. So now we're the manufacturer for the plaque business and the fulfillment for that as well. So we're still.
But you don't own it.
We don't own it anymore, but we have our hands still like in the
very deep. It sounds like. So why'd you sell half and then another half? Is there like a strategic reason?
No, we were planning to sell it all, but we talked to these guys that were wanting to acquire it, and kind of just a like easy deal where they could buy half and we could still be a part of it. And we're like, oh, let's see where it goes. And then it's kind of built a relationship there with them.
That's dope. And then now the only responsibility you have is to fulfill and deliver.
Yeah.
But you're just on a contract, right? So they could technically go take it somewhere else.
Yeah, definitely. And then we have other clients too. So we still do belts and dog collars and stuff like that. And then on the fulfillment side, we fulfill for around 8 or 9 companies that are pretty big, and we're shipping out, like yesterday was right around 3,000 packages out the door for the
day.
Yeah, and that's
3,000?
That's like every day now. So what used to be a crazy big day, yeah. So our 3PL is pretty big. It's really in the sense that it's a boutique 3PL.
Yeah.
So we have a lot of good clients, not a ton of clients, but a lot of really good, strong ones. And we're shipping out a good bit of orders every day. Which is
90,000 orders a month, roughly? That's insane.
Yeah. Wow. Well, the 3,000 is probably the biggest one we've had since we've been there. It was around average, like 1,500. It's
okay,
like
still 50K
it.
plus orders a month is still an incredible amount of orders.
Yeah, and I know that we got 50,000 labels from UPS because they give you like 50,000 free every time you ask, around like once a quarter. And I know we went through those 50,000 labels in less than a month. So yeah, I guess
that's insane.
It's about that big.
Good shit, man. That's awesome. So how did this translate to what you're doing right now?
I mean, they kind of all overlapped because the plaque business, we just had people shipping for us, and then there wasn't enough work because it's pretty seasonality. So a friend of mine was like, hey, can I put my business, can you ship for me? I don't want to build a warehouse. I was like, yeah, I can ship for you. And gave just a random quote that I didn't know anything about 3PL, but just kind of sparked the bloom of the 3PL. And I actually remember calling Adam after a couple of months. I was like, hey, this is cool. We're shipping a lot of orders, but we're losing money because I'm not the spreadsheet guy at all. I'm not good at that.
Seems like that's a theme here.
I just kind of like say yes to things and try to figure them out and build them. And then Adam came in and he started coming to the warehouse more in that time. And then we renegotiated rates and got the thing to where it's actually sustainable and profitable. But it just kind of happened. The 3PL just started, and then we took on more clients, and now we have a pretty good understanding. We're still learning a ton, but we have a pretty good understanding of how to build it. I think yesterday was our 13th employee or 12th employee, so it's getting pretty big over there.
Nice.
That are full-time, and it's growing, and we're learning they software sides of things, but they just kind of overlap. So Plaques overlapped into the 3PL, and as Plaques went away, the 3PL boomed, and we got into UV printing, which is cool now that we're doing, and then Carte Blanche just kind of came in the middle of all that.
So let's talk about that. How did Carte Blanche come through all this? In the midst of all this, you're doing a million things. What also made you pick apparel, right? Like it seems like everything you've done has been like small products, low shipping, high quantity, right?
They're completely opposite businesses, but there's a little part of my story that I didn't touch on, and it was when I was 16 years old, I built a company called Mallard Manor, which was like a Southern T-shirt line for high school, and like frat kids would wear it. It didn't get they didn't get big at all. It was pretty small actually, but I loved it. Like looking back, it was my favorite thing I launched. It was the first like tangible product. It was my first time selling something online that you shipped out the door because it was my first thing after apps, and I loved it. And it didn't go great. I made a few $1,000, but it kind of just fizzled off. But I loved it. So I always had that in the back of my mind, and I was always thinking about apparel, and I've always been like, I want to build a cool apparel company. I mean, I've always talked about it, but we knew that if we wanted to do it, we needed to do it right when the capital was there to invest, because we didn't want it to be something that we needed to live off of. So right after that Valentine's Day boom I told you about last year, we realized there was enough capital to where we could start this, and it wouldn't like take us down. So we just were like, okay, let's start. And So last February, we started really thinking about the idea. Although we'd been talking about it, we started coming up with names. I was clicking through like dictionary.com, trying to find like a term for nights and nights and nights, like at least a month or two, just putting them all in my notes apps and playing with different words and different sayings.
That's like one of the hardest parts. People don't realize.
It's my favorite part though. I love naming.
100%. I love naming. Like you realize how many are taken.
Oh yeah, it's crazy. Like for inverse, it's ENVERSE, and I spent so it's like inverse. The word inverse, but
because
the
there's the E's.
Yeah, but the E's are inverted. So there's like a lot of little meanings in there. And that one took months of weeks of just writing down random things to like I remember writing it down on a piece of paper and running to Adam. I was like, look, I think this is it. And we're like, yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
And then so with Carte Blanche, I was just going through a bunch of different things. It was almost called Beyond Saints. Like I was playing with words like love, hate, fear, all these different words and putting them all together, and nothing was hitting. And we almost did Beyond Saints. Like we're like, this is kind of cool, but it kind of feels like a knockoff of like All Saints kind of. And then I clicked just one and it said Carte Blanche. And I read the definition. It said complete freedom to act as one thinks best, or blank check. And it had a couple meanings. I was like, now this is cool. Because we definitely wanted to have some sort of French tie to it. Mm-hmm. Like we love the French fashion and culture and stuff like that. So we're like, that would be really cool. So I texted to Adam, Carte Blanche, and he's like, that's cool, but it should be a real word. We can't just put two random words together. And I was like, no, dude, this is what it means, because we never even heard the term.
Yeah.
And it's a pretty decent sized term, but you just don't hear it every day. And then we're like, oh, this is it. So we immediately, that was in May, and we started working on logos and building out samples and trying to figure out how we wanted the brand to come about. And then we launched in last August.
So you launched in August. Mm-hmm. Immediate success.
I mean, it went well. We didn't cut any expenses, so we ordered nice boxes. We put a lot of money into ad spend. Mm-hmm. We posted about it for months before we launched. We really didn't try to cut any corners, and we kept the quantity pretty limited. But we didn't know what would happen. I remember we were all sitting there and kind of like, okay, it's going live. And we told people it was going to sell, but we had no clue. And then it sold out after about an hour. So yeah, the first one was a success, and then we used that formula and kind of tweaked it and did it on. Now we've just done 9 drops.
So question for you on the first drop. Let's talk about the first drop. Did you actually sell out, or did you say you sold out when you didn't sell out?
That one we actually sold out on every single item.
Okay.
But there's been times where we've had to we were a little high on quantity, but it's been pretty close throughout all the drops.
Walk me through what that was like.
So the first one was it was low quantity. The total drop was around $8,000, which is
retail value, right?
Yeah. Which is an $8,000 hour is pretty good for a Shopify store. So it was still decent, but that's all that was there. And we told everyone be there at 4:00. It's going to sell out. And then we did good for a couple drops. Then we kind of got into hoodies, and I think it was Black Friday, so that just immediately makes you think let's go for swing for the fences. So we ordered a little high on some of the hoodies and stuff, but we knew that our brand is. The biggest thing is you only can buy it for around, sometimes some products sell in a minute, some an hour, but that's the biggest thing right now with the drops is they need to sell out fast. And so the hoodies were kind of straggling, and we're like, look, we can let them sit out and try to run ads for a week or two and sell these, or we can just follow true to our model and just take the loss. It's not a ton of money. It was $16,000-ish. It was less than $20,000 of hoodies. And we're like, well, let's just take the hit and just keep these and close the site down. And that actually worked out a lot for us later down the road.
That's sick. And so it's important to see here that you stuck to the game plan. I see a lot of people in these situations not understand the opportunity cost of a dollar that was spent versus future dollars that could be made because of the dollar that's spent. And
yeah, we never wanted
loss.
to take the fast dollar with Carte Blanche. There's so many times we were like, that shirt sold out in 1 minute. Should we just open it up and just sell a couple more and then get them made next week? And it's no, because we ship next day or the day after. People get them the same week. We're not going to have people wait. We made that quantity, and that's what we posted, and that's what we're going to sell. So there's so many times we've wanted to open it up, and you feel that you're I should just keep selling. We could sold so much more. Oh, we just lost tens of thousands of dollars if we just made it, had 1,000 of those versus 200 of them. But it's no, follow the game plan. This is the plan. It's not about making money. It's about building this brand. And I'm a big believer in brand death happens a million tiny little cuts instead of one big massive thing. So it's just follow the plan, and that's been hard, but we've done a really good job of, and that's good that me and Adam balance each other out on that. One says yes, one says no, and if we don't both say yes on the idea, we don't do it. Yeah,
makes sense. So let's get into some questions about the brand itself and kind of some strategies you guys have taken that are very interesting from the outside. So first, what do you think made your brand stand out? And let me elaborate. Starting with literally no one knowing your brand, site even exists. what got you from 0 to 1? Or did you never have that phase of like not one person knows who you are because of like past connections and things like that? Or was there a point where it was like that first drop, like no one actually knew who you were?
So the first drop, when we were posting about it, like on our personal social networks, like Instagram was really the only social network we did. But that first few posts, I think we gained a few hundred followers, which is not where we ended up dropping. We dropped with around 4,000 followers. But we did a really good job of kind of having it mysterious, and we went all in on production and content, so it looked like we were a bigger brand if you just saw our photos. And we promoted pretty hard and ran a lot of ad spend, but we were willing to spend whatever it took to make sure the sellout happened. So we spent probably 2 or 3 times what the actual revenue was from that drop on the first drop promoting it. So we were going to make sure it was going to sell out.
So you were willing to take a loss?
The goal was not to profit on the first drop at all.
Okay.
Like it wasn't, I don't know if Adam was tracking the expenses, but I personally was just swiping the card.
I'm sure the spreadsheet guy was tracking.
Yeah, I was just like, we're just going to promote this, and we're going to figure out how we're going to get a lot of people there. And I was just ordering samples. We tested out all these blanks. I was like, we're going to have a great product. It's going to look really good, and there's going to be a lot of people that want it. And that was the goal.
That's sick. So big question, because I think influencers to some extent has been a part of like this mystery thing, right?
Yeah.
Like I've seen it on Todd Gurley, for example. I'm big into football. One day I saw Todd Gurley wearing it. I was like, yo, that's crazy. How is he wearing? And I think it was early. It was probably like by the third drop.
He messaged us after the first drop. He said our first shirt was clock in, and he DM'd us. He goes, clock in, that's tough. And I was like, Todd Gurley. He just DM'd us.
Being in Georgia, Todd Gurley.
Yeah, I mean, he was an idol of mine growing up. Like I always watched his football plays, and I was like a big UGA fan. And then when he came to Atlanta, I was so hype after the Rams. And so when he messaged us, and I've always known of him as a guy with great style. Like he has big time. Yeah. Even in college, I was in a lot of his classes, and always had great style. Yeah. So when he messaged us and he thought something that we made was tough, I was like, wow. And I said, can we send you stuff? And he was like, no reply for a few days. And I followed up with just a question mark in the DMs. And then he replied back. We only had 4,000 followers at the time. He's like, yeah, here, send it here. So we sent him a box, and then nothing kind of happened, but I would go to his tagged photos and pretty much every day or every other day for a couple months. And then after like a month or something, there was a tagged photo of him with a fan wearing it. I was like, wow, he's wearing it. And then the national championship last year, he did a Raising Cane's interview, and he was wearing our hat.
No, that's
and
sick.
Sports Illustrated interview, or maybe it was a Sports Illustrated interview talking about Raising Cane's, and he was wearing it. So we wore it to the national championship. And I was like, wow, that's cool. Hard. And that's all that it's worth. And then there's a couple of times he was wearing it. But I was always just trying to watch, and the fact that he was wearing it was good enough. Like he didn't need to post it, and then he ended up posting on his Instagram for it.
Oh, he did?
He didn't tag us, but he was posted a photo wearing it on his feed.
Which is all you really need, right? Because the name is on the hat.
Yeah, but all the influencers like Rick Ross, and he DM'd us too. So like a lot of them just reached out, and then a couple of them were like strategic with like Mr. Olympia Christian Bumstead was like through a friend. I was like, hey, maybe you want to mention it to him and see if he's interested in it. And he's like, yeah, I showed him. He said it's cool. Maybe some guys at the office will wear it. And so we sent him a big box, and then he was wearing it. So we're like, wow.
That's sick.
And he wore it for a while and posted an Instagram photo in it. So a lot of it was just some strategic and some just making a good product. That
even with 4,000 followers, these people were reaching out?
The later ones were like more recent drops.
Yeah,
but Todd Gurley was the first one to message us, and he was right off the first drop. So
that's crazy. And like someone like Chris Bumstead is huge, right?
Yeah, massive.
And has the same initials as the brand, which I think is pretty cool.
CVCV.
Yeah. So that one was strategic. That was more you trying to find a mutual friend to get to Chris.
Yeah. That one was strategic and kind of just asking like a favor from a friend of what he thought. And he was a close enough friend to ask him. And he didn't say like he necessarily wanted it. He was just like, maybe some guys will wear it. And so that's all you need. But we sent a big box filled with it, and then he sure enough like posted it, and the post, he didn't tag us, but still the photo got like a ridiculous, like probably 800,000 likes on that photo.
800,000 likes.
Like his engagement's crazy, and we started seeing like comments like, I'm here from C-Bum. Like people were like, his real fans are going to figure out what that hat is.
Yeah.
Because he usually only wears his own stuff, and so the fact he was wearing it was pretty cool. And we got some, I noticed like our tagged photos, now there's a lot of workout guys, and I think there's probably a direct correlation there from him.
100%. That's powerful. And you never paid him or anything, right?
We never have paid a single influencer. We never done that in the plan. That's like one of our red flags. Like maybe we'll pay someone to be in an ad one day and we'll make a campaign with them, but we're never gonna be like, hey, we'll send you money to post this. Yeah. It's just not carte blanche. And I think that is part of why that a lot of people are wearing it with high status is because they like it, not because they're paid to wear it. So they like it, and they can't just go order it online. A lot of people will DM us, and there'll be like a big country singer and they'll be like, hey, I can't order this. And we're like, no need, we'll send you some stuff. And then they send it and like, wow, this is cool. I actually like this product. And then sure enough, they're wearing it.
And I'm even seeing people now reselling it for like, so how much do your hats normally sell for? $60 ish?
That's 65, 70. It just depends on how limited the hat is.
The resale, people are reselling them for what price again?
Yeah, I saw one yesterday. It was like $108 that sold, and someone had it listed for like $120. And there's been people reselling it through time, but now sometimes I think in the beginning people were just selling it because like for the face value, just posting it on Grail. But now they're actually reposting it. Like I saw a shirt that sold for over $100, and the shirt's only around $80 right now. So people are like selling it, and I was like, wow, like that's a love-hate feeling. It's like kind of like, dang, someone's reselling it, which doesn't feel great, but it also is like really cool to see someone's reselling it that likes it that much, and then someone's willing to buy it. So like there's gonna be resellers if you keep something limited, but it's cool to see it's kind of going that way.
Look, I think it's a massive compliment. You know, the things that resell are like high-end items like Yeezys and stuff like that in the fashion space, right? That are very like exclusive and like hard to get over and over again after a drop. And so I think the fact that people are even selling them, I think, is a massive compliment to what you guys have done.
That was a big part of it too, is I was a big shoe reseller. I would for Yeezy drops, I would get every computer in the house and every tablet and be staying up all night in high school with my friend, and we would just try to like buy as many pairs as we could. And I remember one drop I got like 6 pairs of Yeezys and resold them. So like that was kind of a little middle ground story that I loved the drop model, and that taught me a lot. I was really inspired by the Yeezy drops and the Adidas and the Kith drops and stuff like that.
Love that. So like from a fashion standpoint, kind of a long question here, so let me get through it. What void do you think CB is filling in the fashion streetwear industry? What makes people choose you over other brands? It's evident because even if you get free items sent to a big name, like they don't actually wear it, right? Like kind of like we're talking about, without tagging them, like a paid influencer type thing. And all these guys are doing it. So like, what did you do right? And how do you think that will expand over the next 12 months?
Yeah, I saw someone that commented, I don't know if they were roasting us or not, but they commented, Carte Blanche is the retired Hypebeasts brand, which is kind of where we're going. It's not like this crazy hype clothing brand with like cuts and sews. We're taking really minimalistic designs that are clean. We're not doing holes in our shirts. We're doing high quality shirts that you could wear to a nice dinner, and hats you could wear out that aren't like these cheaper clothing. So the void we're kind of filling is like just cleaning it up with the old money aesthetic, and they're minimalist. They're not too crazy, and they're clean designs that you can wear to dress them up or kind of wear around the house, but not something you would necessarily wear to the gym kind of thing. That's
sick. And it seems like most streetwear brands are wear to the gym type thing.
It's very grungy right now. It's like you'd have like the huge, massive stars on it with like the crazy like Chinese and cursive upside down, like all this weird stuff. And I think that's cool. And I think there's of course all people that order it, but it's like a really big like high school type thing. And we're trying to build most every brand that we've ever released has been somehow, I guess, just subconsciously been to like our age demographic. So like 24 to 34-year-olds are kind of wearing Carte Blanche and wearing the hats, and it's just a clean, like step down from designer, minimalistic company.
That's sick, dude. I think you guys are definitely doing it right, and it's dude, it's very hard. I think a lot of people don't realize how hard it is for you to just like let it rip open at all times, because you would make more money than
if we just did the most brands too is like they don't really think about the long-term ramifications of just opening up their site with the mock-up that they have and then selling as many as they can and then producing it over the next month or two and then shipping it out by themselves over the next 2 or 3 weeks, and someone orders it and they didn't get it, and they like by the time they get it they're not even hype about it anymore. They got it a month or two later. But now with Carte Blanche we do make sure that every single product is quality control checked. It's made before the drop. It's not some get rich quick kind of brand. It's like something that we're building long term. It's just the very, very, very beginning. And if you order it, you're going to have great customer experience. You're going to get that box. The label will print Wednesday morning and it'll be packaged. Now it takes like 2 or 3 days, but we used to ship them out the night after the drop and just stay there till midnight. But now it's too big for that. But we'll ship it out that week and you'll be wearing it within 7 days easily. Sometimes 2 days, yeah.
And but like it's hard to do that, dude. Because like think about your other business, right? You're doing 10 to 30K a day.
Yeah, so that's what's crazy is if we didn't have the 3PL, it would be pretty hard to do what we're doing. But we're lucky that we have this infrastructure that we can lean on to make this experience so great. they really complement, or I guess, yeah, they really do complement each other in a way. I don't know how much Carte Blanche complements the 3PL. I mean, I guess there's some clients that get landed because they hear about Carte Blanche and then they find out we have a 3PL, so that's kind of cool. But the 3PL really helps Carte Blanche act like a massive company when it really wasn't in the beginning.
Yeah, it makes sense. Man, my voice cracked there. Cool. So, and last question on this, and then I want to get kind of like in the weeds on like what you guys do on the ad side, what you guys do on the email side. If you have any specific strategies there that I think that stand out and are strong, especially in this drop model. I think, at least I would believe that it's heavily email SMS dependent on the back end as well.
Yeah.
So we can get into that in a second, but like, what mistakes have you guys made in starting out the brand, and what do you think have been the biggest challenges to overcome as a clothing brand entering the streetwear market? It's very competitive. I know a lot of people in this marketplace.
Yeah. One of the biggest challenges is just staying true to the drop model that we have. And it's easier now because it's gotten bigger, but when we were doing like kind of stagnant growing, like drops 3 and 4, like we wanted to be like, let's like chase that amount. Like, let's do a 6-figure drop. Like, let's do it. And be like, no. Wait for the snowball to kick in. And really around 6 is when the snowball kicked in. That's when the whole drop sold out in 4 minutes. And
4 minutes.
And people, like, the comments were crazy. We're like, oh. So then those last 5 drops where we didn't jump the gun, besides a little mess up on quarter 4, and we stayed true, the snowball kicked in. Now there is 3 times the demand of what we have available. We can double now. And so we doubled from 6 to 7, or maybe it was 7 to 8, somewhere around there, and we doubled, and now our drops are pretty big. It's like close to 1,000 orders with over $100 AOV, and our repeat customer rate's 34% on the last drop, or 30%. It was ridiculously high because people love the product, but it's because we stayed true. So the biggest thing in the beginning was just following it and not taking the big
30% customer rate?
Repeat customer rate.
For a drop?
Yeah, and there's so many new customers that want it. Like, it's pretty crazy.
That's what I'm more mind blown that I think it's lower than I thought it would be.
You thought it would be higher?
Yeah, I thought it'd be like 60% because like it's a drop of a brand that people already bought.
There's so many people that are waiting. So like,
that's interesting. I wouldn't have thought that.
We double, we get bigger most every drop. But
you're not doubling to the same people buying more.
No. So like, we have a large amount of people that are rebuying it. Like, there's people that have ordered every single drop, but we're bringing in so many new people every drop because we're spending a lot on ads to bring them in.
And what's your ad strategy? Because I have not seen a single ad from you guys. Either I'm too poor.
No. Well, there's no targeting, so Facebook picks who sees it. We don't target anything. But we really...
You didn't even target gender?
No.
Not even just men?
We don't even run ads.
Wait, what? I'm confused. I thought you said you run ads.
We boost posts.
Oh, you boost posts. Okay,
on Instagram.
okay.
And since we have really good content...
Which is an ad.
Yeah, it is an ad, but we're literally doing it through the app. We don't even have like a business manager.
No way.
So it's just through the app. We're like... I don't know many people that are spending that much on boost, but it's working because I think our content is so clean that Instagram is rewarding us with good explore page views, and then people see it. It doesn't necessarily look like an ad. It's just a photo that we posted that the caption is like, hey, the drop is at 4 p.m. East on Tuesday. And so we're just boosting posts, and it's working really well. I mean, we're going to transition into a more ad model, but we've gained over 70,000 followers so far in less than a year just in 9 promotional periods, so like 9 total weeks out of the year we were promoting.
And you'd say, like, let's talk about your sales right now. Do you feel like a pretty good chunk comes from organic on Instagram still, or is it mainly boosted posts and then email SMS?
Yeah, I call it like the snowball, and that's when the brand is getting to where a lot of people are wearing it and people are seeing it every single day, and that snowball started to kick in, so we're gaining followers daily pretty well, but a lot of it is from when we're promoting and there's a drop coming up, people sharing it and getting excited and trying to be the first ones there. So a lot of our gain, or most all of our gain, is those like 10 days before a drop.
Yeah, it makes sense. So I have a question about your pricing, because I read some of these comments. I'm sure you do too.
Oh,
right?
Yeah.
People bitch about the price a lot,
It's not
right?
for everyone.
It's not for everyone, right? And it's very interesting that you took such a high price approach. And my belief, at least when it comes to pricing in certain marketplaces, especially maybe something like streetwear or jewelry as an example, the people in the middle lose. So like you're either the cheapest or the most expensive in a way, right? Like in those two categories, let's say the top 10% or the bottom 10%, and then everything in the middle is kind of like a wash. It's very difficult to stand out. Whereas I feel like it's much easier to justify why you're the most expensive, or it's much easier to acquire if you're the least expensive. So like, why did you go with such an expensive model. Like a hat for $65 is pretty expensive, right? A shirt
Yeah.
for 80 is super expensive, right? At least maybe not in the streetwear world,
Yeah.
right? But in
like
apparel
to go
in
into
general.
walk into like Nordstrom's, you're not gonna
Exactly.
probably buy a $65 hat unless it was like on the designer side.
And it's hard to sell via ads, more importantly, right?
Yeah.
Like it has to have that brand value that Todd Gurley wore it or that Rick Ross wore it to get there.
Yeah.
And you obviously didn't have that when you started, right?
Mhm.
So what made you guys go so expensive?
Well, the plan for the company was always to be like a step down from designer. So like kind of where like All Saints would fit like $120 shirts and $100 hats, like Von Dutch in that level. That was the plan. And we're like, well, might as well just start close to there. We're not going to try to work up from a $30 shirt to a $100 shirt.
Yeah.
So we started off there, and we also made sure our quality was great. The first people that ordered got these green custom blank check boxes. Our quality, anyone that ordered it, no one ever has ordered and be like, this wasn't worth it. It's only people that didn't order that are like, it's not worth it. But the biggest thing with that is we're not selling a t-shirt. Like we're selling this brand identity, this brand image of like what Carte Blanche is. Because I saw this video the other day. You can give me a $1,000 hoodie from Gucci or Louis Vuitton and take the brand off of it, and it's still the same quality hoodie. And if I went and just like, hey, will you give me $1,000 for this? I'd be like, no, because it's just a hoodie. Like, it's nice. It might be like $100 hoodie, but it's not $1,000 hoodie. But if you build that brand identity of what it means to wear Louis Vuitton or Gucci or Carte Blanche is like what we're building, then you're like, okay, now I understand why you pay that price point. But if you just ripped this off and I gave you this hat, it's like you would sell it for $70. It just wouldn't be that expensive.
Yeah.
But you're buying into the brand and into the mission and what the brand is about and what you are, like who you become, like paid for daily. We're selling this idea, this brand.
I love it. And so what's the plan with this brand? Like, where are you trying to go with this? Like you've exited multiple things. You've had to, in a way, exit your app, right?
Yeah.
For different reasons. In a way, you've had to exit your jewelry brand, for reasons of getting rid of debt. You've gotten the blessing to be able to exit your plaque company. Is this something in the far future even that's a consideration of we're building this in order to be sold? Or is this something we're building all the way up to the top ourselves?
It's going to be the biggest brand in the world.
Yeah.
Like that's the plan. I have no intent to get out of Carte Blanche. I love it. Every single day that I get to work on Carte Blanche is a blessing, and I love it. I want to be a part of Carte Blanche forever. I want to stay with Carte Blanche forever. Sure, there might be something down the road, but I'm not thinking of exiting at all. And it's definitely 10 years, 20 years. I have a lot of time to do this, and I want to keep doing it until it maybe outgrows me, maybe. But for right now, I have a lot of great plans for it, and there's no plans to get out of it at all.
That's sick. So last tech question, and then I have a personal question for you. Email SMS side, like, are you guys doing anything outside the box? Is there anything interesting that you could share that you guys are doing that maybe you think is like a little bit different than your typical email SMS stuff that everyone else is doing?
So our email marketing is really clean and aesthetically pleasing. Adam's really good at it. He builds the emails out, and it's a really clean template, and they're all kind of follow the same model. So like 10 days before the drop, the email, same kind of template, just looks different. And then we have a really good strategy for how those emails send out to promote the drop.
What is that strategy?
I'm not the best.
That's the Adam.
Yeah,
that's
Adam's
Adam
great
question.
at that stuff. But I believe it's like the Sunday before, the Tuesday before. So I guess that's like 8 or 9 days before. There's like the first email announcing it and kind of telling what the drop is going to be. And then the lookbook is released about a week before, which lets you go to the website and see all the products on the models, which is cool. And then there's
Can they like add to cart before?
No.
Okay.
You can only see the lookbook, which shows you like just.
I'm not saying
lifestyle.
checkout.
Yeah, no. There's no so that's the key is the website during the drop promotion. If you go to the website, it's just a landing page that says put your email in if you want to be notified when the drop happens. So every ad is going straight to SMS and email ad.
Nice.
So that's how we built our list so big. And then the only way to even get to the lookbook is by being like you can't even see the whole collection stuff unless you give us your email. So once you get the email and the SMS, you can see the lookbook. But you can't really see anything on the site. You have to opt in to be a part and see what's coming and get an idea for it.
Okay, cool. So that's like a week before.
Yeah.
Lookbook's out now. Everyone's like tense. They're picking which items they want.
The only people that are on the lookbook are people that know about Carte Blanche enough to give us their email and SMS. And we've built a really big list. It's pretty large for the size of our following. We have 70,000 followers and we have over 30,000 emails, and I think we're getting close to 20,000 SMS. So it's a really high opt-in that we built, and it's just straight from driving people to the website before the drop, or to the Instagram page to the website to give us their email and SMS.
That's sick. Okay, and then what happens in those 7 days?
we're posting every day. We're boosting every day. We're sending. There's a couple emails.
So this is where you probably run the most ads.
The only ads. Like right now, it's an off season, so we're silent right now. There's nothing. Like maybe we'll repost a story if someone posts it. It's a cool photo, but there's nothing coming from Carte Blanche. No Instagram posts. So the last post is our sold out photo, which is part of our template. So there's the now live, sold out, thank you, and a tiny Easter egg for what the next drop is. So like after 7, we said see you on the ranch, which was a hint that 8 was going to be the Carte Blanche ranch. And then after 9, that just happened, we said we'll see you next year because it was after our first year.
Yeah.
So the second year of Carte Blanche, we said we'll see you next year when we set the new standard, which is the next drop is going to be the new standard.
That's sick.
And that'll be in October. But there's like little Easter eggs, but we don't post anything on the page until about 10 days out. We'll post like a little snippet that's a really cool photo we make that's not about the close that'll tell you the name of the drop and the date. And that's it.
That's sick. Dude, it's funny because like it actually makes your life easier in a way too.
It's an on-season, off-season.
Yeah.
Right now I'm building the whole next drop, which is a lot of work, but I'm not having to post and do
exactly, which is really nice.
And there's
honestly.
no emails coming out. Like there'll be a thank you email after the drop sometimes. And
so I can't go buy anything right now from the site?
No one can, no.
Never. Only until the drop.
No, and that's what's awful too, in the sense of like when I see someone like, hey, can I get a hat? And I'm like, dude, I don't have anything.
Yeah,
like, I really don't have anything to give out. We get all the stuff like the week before the drop or a few days before the drop sometimes, and then it goes live, and then I ship it all out, and then there's some stragglers for buffers, but I have to keep those in case someone like we're really good about customer service. If something happens with your product, like
you need
even if it's your problem, we'll fix it for you because you're part of this, and our customer loyalty is so high that. Because we do treat
and the quality of the customer, I'm sure, is pretty high too.
Yeah, we're not ever trying to pull a fast one and be like, oh yeah, can you pay us $10 to ship that back? Like if we give you the return label, we'll take care of you. Like if you're a part of Carte Blanche, you're part of the family kind of thing. That's
sick, dude. And so it takes a lot of discipline to do all this stuff that you're doing, right? Like, I mean, one, it's really cool. How old are you now?
24.
24. So like 11 years ago, you started the app situation, which is when you got into like the digital world, right?
It feels like it was just a couple years ago, but I guess I've been doing it for a decade now. It's cool.
And each thing I think has probably taken more discipline from you, just feeling how more structured you got versus like, oh, I didn't even know what the expenses were, and now we're in the red every day kind of thing.
Now we're a big spreadsheet company.
Big spreadsheet company, right? Which is really important, honestly. I think a lot of people neglect this, especially drop shippers. They don't look at things like that. They look at things as like,
cool pump and run the cash flow.
Revenue,
Amex is due. Here's my bank account. We're good.
And
that's kind of how we ran for a while. But that's like the biggest thing is when you don't go to college. I didn't go to college. Adam dropped out after a year. We didn't go to college, and I don't think college is necessary at all. But I do think you learn some like business acumen things that are going to help you understand what a balance sheet is and a P&L and all this stuff. So we kind of just learned that from not doing it and then be like, oh, we need this, and talking to the next guy and be like, oh, you got to do this and this. So we've really like, instead of just doing quick pumps and all this stuff, we've really started to build this business acumen that lets us build these sustainable companies with systems, and that's come along the process. But it does take a lot of discipline, as you're saying, of learning how to do that even.
And so every time I talk to people like you, right, who are disciplined, who have these companies, et cetera, there's always like something personal that is like personal discipline outside of work discipline for them. I think for you, it's running.
Yeah.
How do you feel like running? And first, tell everyone how much you actually run, because Austin's a friend of mine, and I know you guys were training for like a half marathon.
Yeah.
And he was like, no, Lewis is on another level. And how does one, talk to us how much you actually run and how crazy it is? Because I think some people will be mind blown about how far you can actually run, how quickly. I think he gave me your average mile time on the half marathon, and I was like, I can't even run 1 mile in that speed. And how does that actually correlate to like business? Yeah,
so I was always like a running kid, kind of. My dad, he was a big runner, and I think he's ran like, I don't know, he's ran a lot of races. So I was running 5Ks with him when I was a kid, and I was always like, they were always like, how's this kid finishing fast? I had a natural ability to running, so I liked it, and I ran track in college, but I kind of stopped. But about a year and a half ago, when we were starting Carte Blanche, actually, Adam was like, let's just run to a combined 100 miles. So we just started running again. And I was like, wow, this is going pretty good. And then July ended, which was the 100 month. We got the challenge. And then he was like, maybe we should run a marathon. So I was like, okay. So we started marathon training, which was a 14-week training program. And I just fell in love with it. And I saw everything else in my life. If you're waking up and running 12 miles in the morning or 15 miles in the morning before a work day, like nothing else is going to be hard. So during the marathon training, we ran a couple 100 miles over the whole training period. There's some like 40, 50 mile weeks. And And then I happened to, like, I have a good talent in it. I won't be like, act like I'm not decent at running. I'm naturally decent at it. So
I mean, really, no matter how much I train, I bet you would kick my ass. You know what I mean?
So I do love it in that. And I love the competitiveness of like running the race and training for it and putting in all this time for those hours. So the half marathon was an hour and 38 minutes. And like you do all that training for that moment and you're just all invested into it. And your whole life you can see when you're running, there's just a good discipline about you. Like you're not going to go out late or or eat this bad meal. You're going to be pretty disciplined, and it all kind of funnels through that. So yeah, running's become a big part of my life over the last year and a half.
And what was your mile time on that marathon?
The half marathon, it was a little tough. It was 7:30.
And you thought that was slow?
So slow. It was so hot. It was a night race, so it was like 90 degrees. But I was aiming for 6:50 pace was my goal. So
is that normal for you, 6:50 pace?
That was going to be like me going all out. But for like the marathon I ran, I was at mile 20 at 7:20 pace because it was an October marathon, and I was trying to get close to the 3 hours, my first one, and then I just completely like bonked and had to walk the last few miles, and I ended right around 8-minute pace for the marathon. But yeah, I was trying to run a sub 1:30 half marathon, which was going to be tough, but it was just too hot, and I definitely slacked a little bit in the training. I wish I went a little harder on myself. And it's hard to train in the summer in Georgia. It's so humid, but that's no excuse. But I definitely copped out in my mind.
No. It is an excuse. It's a fair excuse. Georgia summer the humidity is disgusting.
I just noticed today, I was actually walking my dogs this morning and I felt like a breeze and I said, okay, let's start training for a marathon. So I think I'm going to get into marathon training like next week and try to run one in probably around December maybe in like a warmer state. So it's probably like you want to run in like 55-ish degrees is perfect running temperature.
That makes sense. Yeah. The heat, I mean, dude, much respect to you, first of all, because like I've never been a runner. I mean, look at me. You know what I mean? Like this is not a running body. So I respect that a lot. I don't think I could even run. If you told me to run 1 mile in 6.5 minutes, I don't think I could do it.
Hey, if you start running, even no matter what the pace is in the beginning, you'll notice like nothing else is it's the hardest thing to do in my opinion. Yeah. Like I worked out every day, or most every day from 16 years old until now, and like did something in the gym is hard, and I got into really good shape in the gym. But when I started running, I was so humbled by it, and you realize like no one runs because it is so hard.
It's so hard.
It's so hard. People just don't do it. So if you just start doing it and you build into it, you'll start to find like this just peace that comes about you. And I used to put in like rap music and stuff to like motivate me. Now I just run without headphones most of the time, and I just really find like I sometimes will leave my phone at home and just have the watch and just find this like peace of just being outside. Nothing is bothering me, and I'm just me and myself, and I'm thinking, and it's really become like a tranquil, peaceful moment to me in running and training.
That's sick, dude. I love that. And so there's an important question that I ask everyone that's on this podcast, and this is kind of like us concluding it in a way. You're young. You've done a lot of really cool shit, honestly. I know a lot of 50, 60-year-olds who haven't accomplished what you have, and you're not even half their age. You know what I mean? So much respect to you. But if you were to go back 5-6 years, talk to like a 19-year-old, a 20-year-old, you know what I mean? Even someone your age, for all I care. What's one piece of advice? One thing, just like one thing that you would tell them that could potentially like change their outlook on life, change how they approach things, just kind of like life advice. It doesn't have to be around business even, but just something that you think that like maybe a quote in your head that you always think about when certain things happen, or like what is one piece of advice you think you could give people that would like change what their future would look like?
First off, thank you for the compliments. It's very kind. It's so corny, but it really just like don't give up. If you just look back at those things I talked about, they all pretty much end in a failure. Like they all kind of do in one way or another. But yeah. I extracted little pieces from every single failure, and some of them were successful slightly, but nothing crazy. And I'm still nowhere near where I want to be, or I wouldn't even call myself successful in a sense of like where it can go in the end. But if you just don't give up and you look at that experience instead of like a frowny face, you look at it with a smile. And you're like, what can I extract? You may not even know in that moment, but you might figure out a year from now, I learned Facebook ads here and apply it to this business, or whatever it might be. Or I fell in love with shipping in 2017, shipping those items and seeing the tangible goods, but I didn't know that was going to translate into building a 3PL, or like what was going to happen there. But the failures and little things, I just didn't give up, and I never thought about what was going to happen next. Or like what bad could happen. I was like, what's going to happen next? So just a positive outlook without giving up, and just knowing it'll all work out if you just keep going forward.
Love that. And keep in mind, for everyone listening, You know, I'm telling you, I know a lot of people who talk about your brand. By the way, the orange hat for me was like the best product you've ever done.
That was a wild idea I had. That was like, my friend actually was like, you should make an orange hat. And I was like, And I thought about it. I was like, wow, that's cool. Like, we just have this really limited, really bright product that everyone's going to see. Everyone's going to come to that. It's like advertise the neon, sell the black, the Nike model. And it's like, it kind of worked out.
Dude, I'll tell you, I'm a big fan of your clothing, but I'm not like a clothing guy. So I'm not like the type of guy that'll go and like try to beat a drop for 4 minutes to get something. For example, I wear the same shit all the time, but I love your brand. But that orange hat, dude,
I can get you one.
I can make that's one you can get me one? I can get you one. I don't wear hats at all, but that's a hat I would fucking wear.
Maybe you can like put it on a desk somewhere in here and people will see it when they walk by.
That's a hat I would wear, honestly.
Cool.
Yeah, I hate hats just because like the way I do my hair is very important to how I look, and a hat like
covers that.
You can't take it off.
Yeah,
it's like once you take it off, the hair is destroyed.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like that. But that's a hat I would wear. But thank you for being on the show, and most importantly, if someone wants to find you, what's the best way to connect with you personally, and what's the best place to like follow your brand, essentially?
Yeah, first of all, I always will advertise the brand first. It's Carte Blanche Supply on Instagram. That means way more than any personal follow. It's just being a part of the brand and getting into that message and that brand. It is me. That is an extension of me. And then personally, you can find me on Instagram at Leidenfrost or Twitter at Leidenfrost.
Nice. And I'll put those links below too, depending on where you're listening or watching. People will be able to click that below. But Lewis, bro, thanks a lot for getting on the show. Thanks for like peeling behind the curtains of Carte Blanche and how it started, what you guys are doing behind the scenes. I know a lot of people are really curious about that too, and I don't think there's a ton of content out there kind of walking through that. And so I think this is gonna be really exciting for a lot of people.
Hey, I appreciate it. I'm glad we finally got to do this.
Of course, dude.
I'm glad it happened now instead of earlier on.
Yeah, honestly, there's a lot more to talk about. So awesome. I'm very excited, and thanks a lot for being on the show.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it.
Peace. Thanks so much for watching another episode of the Bad Marketing Podcast. I hope you got immense value from it. And if you did, all we ask of you is that you share this with a friend that you think could find this very valuable. And depending on the platform that you're watching or listening to this on, please like, subscribe, or rate the podcast as best as possible. It really means a lot to us. We pour so much money, time, and effort into getting these guests here, filming all this, editing it, all for free just to give you free value. And all we ask in return is that you just share this with people. You give it a positive review so that we can continue to reach more people and impact more lives with all this effort that we're putting in. With that being said, thanks so much for tuning into the episode, and I look forward to continue to provide you more valuable content moving forward on the Bad Marketing Podcast. Make sure you subscribe.